Hello, Bethel Park. This is Amy Taylor coming to you. Bethel Park TV, healthy, fit, and strong. Welcome, welcome. Today we have with us Mary Ellen Franz. Mary Ellen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're here with Mary Ellen's Serenity Garden. This is her sanctuary. Mary Ellen designed this in her head and made it come to life. When we show you what beauty is before us, it is mind-boggling. If you guys can imagine hidden treasures that you've come upon, maybe traveling through the United States, maybe traveling through Bethel Park, Mary Ellen's Serenity Garden, right in her own backyard, is truly a hidden treasure. Mary Ellen, tell us a little bit about you and your gardening.
I've loved flowers all my life. When I was growing up, we had two big maple trees in our front yard and yews in the front, but my mom always bought impatiens so that I could plant them because I liked gardening. And then when I was in my 20s, I lived in a house where I made a 10 by 10 rose garden. Roses are my favorite flowers. They're still my favorite flowers. And I had 20 roses. I had 10 miniatures and 10 full-grown. Most of them were hybrid teas. A couple of them were simplicity hedges. And that was fun. The deer also like roses, so sometimes they got to enjoy the roses more than I did, which is where I learned to like Floribunda roses and knockouts and drift roses because they bloom prolifically. So if the deer take a munch, I still have roses to look at. But it was fun. There were a lot of beautiful roses. I've been gardening in this space for 19 years. When we moved into the house, it's been bigger and smaller. We just had this garden put in the spring a couple months ago. The Ivanoviches came and I talked to Evan at length because I was very concerned about this space. This has always been my space to grow flowers. And he was very attentive and he did what I wanted. He heard me and heard my vision and made it happen. And it's beautiful. They did a great job. So I like to watch the birds, and there's a lot of stuff for birds and butterflies in this garden, and hummingbirds are real pretty, and we have one that visits every year. So it was important to me that when we planted this garden, that there were hummingbird flowers, that they didn't all get taken out. So that's what it is now. So now we have this.
I know it was about a month and a half, 2 months ago, when you and I first started chatting about the garden, and you showed me pictures of what seemed like a barren desert. It really was.
Yeah, it was not a year-round garden back then.
It was like sand and like dirt and dust, and maybe there was a few tumbleweeds going past, I don't know. And each week we'd get together, and each week you'd show me the transformation. Much like moth to a butterfly, this garden has transformed into something exquisite and beautiful. And each week there was a new plant, a new flower, and I know that you personally told me the story behind why you chose the plant, why you chose the flower, what was attracted to each and every plant. Yeah. And I would love to go over that with you today. Now, you say that this is your Serenity Garden, that you find your happy place here.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
When I was a child, The Secret Garden was my favorite book. I love that book because it's all about healing through the garden. I watched the movie with my daughter a few months ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why I love that book. But
when watch it.
When my kids were in grade school, I read it to them, and I told them how I always thought it'd be cool to have a walled-in garden that was a secret garden. And they told me that I do have a secret garden because looking at the front of our house, you would never know that this garden is back here. So that was fun. I love talking to kids. They have interesting ways of looking at things and make you see things that, as an adult, you don't even think about. Mm-hmm. So there was that. No.
I know, Mary Ellen, when you talk about this garden, you form into a child yourself. You get giddy like a schoolgirl.
I like gardens.
You giggle and you smile ear to ear, and I can tell how much joy that this garden has brought you. And you're very specific in saying that this is not your Zen garden. I thought Zen was a space that you find peace. But you mentioned to me that Zen does not bring you closer to God. It's not as God-like as you would like. And I know that you are a very religious person. And so I will respect your wishes in calling this your Serenity Garden.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And
that's the other part of the garden, though.
Yes.
Is that it's... God made us stewards of the earth.
Yes.
And this is my contribution to the birds and the butterflies and
give back.
the worms and the squirrels. And all right, the deer are not welcome. It's true. The deer are not welcome. But everybody else under the sun comes through here too. And living close to South Park, we have skunks, we have groundhogs, we have possums, we have mice. So everybody does come through. We have a cat that comes to visit this garden. It's a gray cat. It is not our cat.
He just likes to come and admire the garden as well.
Oh, he likes to chase the moles and the chipmunks, and he is in charge of rodent control as far as I'm concerned. So it's just a whole ecosystem
I
that
love
brings
it.
joy to many creatures and is my contribution. I think if everybody had a garden, the world would be a better place as far as the vegetation and the ozone and enough room for everybody. There really is enough room for everybody and living in harmony with our surroundings.
Wow, you really touched me with that just now.
Sorry.
That's beautiful.
So
That's really stunningly beautiful. And it's nice that you can live in harmony with nature right here in your own backyard. So many creatures come to visit. And I know that you come back here for your Bible readings.
yes, I do.
It's your safe place. It's your happy place.
Yeah.
Your inner silence, your inner soul. How wonderful. How wonderful. Now, and I also noticed that while you have vegetation here, that you also have sculptures of animals to symbolize different things. And I can't wait to talk about it all with you. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'll be fun.
Yes. And shall we go around a little bit and talk about some of the vegetation and some of what makes this place so special to you?
Sure, that'd be great.
Mary Ellen, what would be your favorite story about your garden and the creatures that reside within it?
Well, last year, the birds were planting for me. They don't always agree with my ideas, so they like to plant on their own. It may have been a chipmunk as well, but I had planted Latania, which I just discovered Latania, and I really, really like it and trying to find a place for it this year. But the birds or chipmunks had planted a sunflower, and so the sunflower came up, and it actually stayed really low, but it came up right in the middle of the Latania, and it made a really pretty picture, and it made me smile when I went by. All right, you talked about me coming out here to pray, and we call it the grotto to distinguish it from the gazebo. Inside the grotto, there is a silly bird statue. My original thought was that I wanted to go and get a statue of Jesus or a cross or an angel, and I went out and I didn't see any that I liked. But I did find that bird, and that bird made me smile. And I'm like, well, Jesus makes me smile, and that's good enough for me. So I bought the silly bird, and it sits under there, and nobody gets to see it except if you go in there. And it makes me smile and brings me joy, and that's what God does too. So
How nice.
I
How
am,
nice.
and I do pray in there and meditate and just chill out and stare into space and look at the flowers. So that's
And
that.
standing right here in front of your Bible area is a beautiful magnolia tree. And I know there's a special story to this as well. Talk to us about the symbolism of the magnolia tree.
I homeschooled my children, and my son was very into dinosaurs when he was young. So I was jumping off of that, and we were looking up plants that were around at the dinosaur time. And one of the plants that we could confirm was very, very old was a magnolia. So
I
I
never knew
bought
that.
I bought the magnolia, and we planted it, and I don't remember what else we planted there to try to make a dinosaur garden. It didn't quite work because most of the stuff just isn't around, or I can't get it. But my husband still calls this Josh's garden, that it's the magnolia.
Bethel Park TV watchers, did you know that magnolia trees were around during the dinosaur ages? You learn something new here every day on Bethel Park TV. Continue, Mary Ellen.
All right, this is our fountain. I had sent you pictures of what my fountain used to be. I really liked my old fountain, but doesn't compare to this.
This is stunningly beautiful.
So,
This is like falling water.
well, and this is fun because the birds. Well, something that happened that I didn't expect to happen is like those little pools. The birds like them, and even when the fountain's on, the birds will go and they'll take a bath in the pools.
How special.
So that's always fun to watch. This is my owl. I was a children's librarian for many years. I am still a librarian, but I don't work in children's anymore. And that owl looked like he was telling stories. So I bought him, and my daughter likes owls, and I put the two turtles to sit and listen to the owl's stories.
Lovely, just lovely. All right, and we have some foliage here.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting.
We talked about birds, butterflies, and hummingbirds. The honeysuckle that I just planted in the back attracts hummingbirds. It's extremely fragrant, so it makes me happy too.
I can smell something. Is that what I smell from here or no?
Mostly you're smelling the lilacs. There are 6 lilacs in this garden.
Smells good.
There is a trumpet honeysuckle on the gazebo, which is red, but it's not fragrant. The yellow honeysuckle is extremely fragrant, so I decided to make us both happy, and the hummingbird still loves it, but I get to smell it when I'm in the grotto. Beside it is a Shasta daisy, some tick seed, bee balm, baby's breath. The birds like the seeds of the tick seed when it goes to seed. The bee balm attracts hummingbirds, and the Shasta daisy attracts butterflies. Wow. There's also a small clematis coming up there that used to be covered in clematis. Last year during the drought, I didn't do a good job of watering, and so it died, so I just cut it back, and it is popping out. We'll see if it comes back or not.
Wow.
In the back there climbing, that is a climbing hydrangea, and it attracts butterflies.
Starting to bud.
Some other stuff in here just adds structure to the garden. You've got boxwood, the weeping white pine, you've got a Norway spruce, and another pine over there. Like you said, it was a barren desert. This used to be a mostly summer garden, a lot of spring stuff. It now looks good all year round.
That's true. That's true. You'll always have a color or a pop of something going on.
Yes.
Year round. Yes.
Yeah. These are pinks, dianthesis, and they smell like carnations. They're miniature carnations.
Oh,
A lot of people think they're called pinks because they're pink.
they smell like cotton candy, actually.
They think they're called pinks because they're pink. I read that they actually are called pinks because if you see that the petals are not smooth, it looks like someone took
Jagged.
someone took pinking shears to them.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why they call them
Interesting.
pinks, which I did not know before I was reading. The phlox right there that's in bloom, the deer really like the phlox. That's why they're not welcome in this garden. And they attract butterflies and critters.
Now, the last time I was over, you actually had a hummingbird here.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it was in the catmint.
Mhm.
The catmint is down there. So we'll get to it. So if we come further, you have the lilac. There are 6
Oh, I
lilacs
love
in this
lilacs.
garden because I like lilacs and they smell so good. I've always wanted to plant a Miss Kim lilac. They don't get as big as the natural ones. It's a Korean lilac, and it'll get about 5 or 6 feet high. And they smell wonderful. They just smell
What are those
wonderful.
pointy things? The pointy, it
Those
looks like
are
yellow.
lupin.
Oh, they're beautiful.
The lupin attract hummingbirds, and that's why they were planted there. Those are tricolor lupins. They're dwarf, and so they won't get too high and fall over. They'll keep a nice shape, and they are right now. They're pink, a couple colors of pink, purple, and yellow
Gorgeous.
are all coming up. You had asked me about the statues, and some of them were just pretty, and some of them have meaning. This bunny was given to me by my next door neighbor. She lived there since the 60s, and she was in her 80s, and a few years ago she moved. She downsized, but she always kept a garden, and we used to exchange garden stories, and she gave me that bunny to remember her, so that's why that bunny sits in this garden.
Aw.
It was a gift from her. And then we were also talking about structure, that the evergreens are in here. There's also evergreen ground cover. That's blue star juniper. This is proboscis juniper. They both spread, and they give year-round color, and they also give year-round cover.
Oh, yeah.
The chipmunks will hide under them. The birds like the cover, so it makes it a friendly place for wildlife. This is spiderwort. I really like that plant. I chose it because it was fun, and people think it's called spiderwort because it looks like a spider.
That would be my guess.
Yes. I also read that that may be true, but it could be also true that spiderwort at one time was used to treat spider bites. So
Buckle
the
Park
name,
TV, you're learning again.
so it may be called that for that reason as well.
Love it.
There's the little Henry
Mm-hmm.
with the impatient behind it. There's a juga. There are 3 different kinds of ajuga in this garden. It gets flowers. The flowers attract hummingbirds. And it is a ground cover that stays green. There is, that one is burgundy. I still like my roses, so I did buy 2 miniature roses and add them. I am hoping to get more miniature roses.
Where are your roses at?
They're real tiny because they're miniatures. The pink
Oh,
one,
yeah, okay.
The pink one is blooming. The red one has buds, but it hasn't bloomed yet.
Nice.
Last summer I had two really pretty ones. I had one that was a really pretty coral orange color, and another one that was yellow and pink. I sent pictures of the yellow and pink one.
Nice, nice.
So I'm hoping to be able to buy another one this year. We now have a good shot of the catmint. The bees
Tell us about what catmint is and why you have it.
Well, catmint is from the mint family, and it gets those purple flowers that stick up, spiked, and the hummingbirds love them, and that's why they're here, because the hummingbirds love them. It is different than catmint. Catmint can be much more aggressive, and they hold their shape better. All of this will spread. Keep in mind this garden was just put in.
Right, about a month ago.
So next year, that Shasta daisy will double in size. These ground covers will spread.
We'll have to stop back.
Yeah. This is another one of the beds in the garden. There's another lilac. Behind the lilac, that climber, is a honeysuckle. That honeysuckle has been there for 3 or 4 years. There is a matching honeysuckle on the other side that had been there even longer, but again, in the drought last year, it did not do well, so I took it out and I replanted one of the yellow honeysuckles, so now I get the fragrant underneath the gazebo, but the hummingbirds love both the red and the yellow. In between are roses. You'll see those roses are much larger than some of the other roses that were just planted. They've been there 2 or 3 years. My son bought me those roses. They're apricot. And I told Evan that I wanted them to stay. So he left those in. And the million bell basket, those are called million bells. They were just very colorful and pretty. And we often eat under the gazebo, so my very indulgent husband bought them for me for Mother's Day. And then we have the topiary. That's all Evan. That's a gift from Evan. Evan put that topiary in. He thought it would look really great, and I agree with him that it does.
It's a nice centerpiece.
Yeah.
For your garden. Mm-hmm.
In here you have butterfly and hummingbird plants. You have more Shasta daisies. You have more bee balm. You have the little Henry in the corner for the hummingbird. You have more of the ground covers. This ground cover, that's a thyme. That's woolly thyme. It's actually a steppable. I won't step on it, but it'll spread, and it's something that people put along walkways and such, because if you step on it, it won't kill it.
So it's called a steppable because you could step on it.
Yeah.
Huh.
I just like the peacocks. I bought the peacocks when there was nothing, and I wanted something to look at. So the peacocks.
It's very
came.
complimentary. Mm-hmm.
And several of these ground covers are evergreens, so that they will be colorful year-round.
Nice.
This was the first garden that was put in. We started with this edge garden. We asked for evergreen garden because I didn't want to mess around back here, and I didn't want to have to do a lot of maintenance. So I thought he did a great job of picking out really interesting plants. He and I went around his nursery, and he said, "What do you like?" And I said, "This, this." And he said, "Okay." So that was fun. This started with, along the fence, weeds kept coming up. And my husband was getting frustrated, and my neighbor was getting frustrated. And I was like, "Can't we just put something pretty in there that would relax you?" So we did. And we put this. So now my husband cuts the grass back here, and it's very calm and serene, and he comes in the house all chilled out, and it's wonderful. Some of the plants, different plants, because this is an evergreen garden than over there, which is a flower garden with an eye to birds, butterflies, and hummingbirds. You have more of the proboscis juniper. You have more of the ajuga. But back here you have coral bells, which is the red big leaf plant right there. And you have creeping jenny, which is the yellow. And if you look, the different colors and the different foliage really flow and also are interesting at the same time. That is a serpentine blue spruce. Behind the blue spruce are popcorn roses. They're called popcorn because they're yellow and white, and they look like buttered popcorn. And then behind it, you'll see some variegated irises. All right, this corner. There are some favorites in this corner. I like holly. So there are 3 holly bushes. I love the red berries in the wintertime. There is a red maple back there. Red maples are one of my husband's favorite trees. And then I was really excited about the Korean dogwood. I did not know it was a Korean dogwood. My next door neighbor has one in her front. It gets big red fruit in the fall, and the birds love it. It attracts songbirds, and they love them. It's just starting to leaf out because it has not been warm enough yet. It gets white flowers. The white flowers are not actually flowers. It's just certain leaves turn white, and there's like 5, and they look like flowers, and then they get the fruit in the fall.
Mary
So-
Ellen, isn't it true that with holly bushes that you need a male and a female bush? So which are which? You have 3.
I believe those are all female.
Okay.
Usually somebody in the neighborhood will have,
Yeah, because you need a male and a female for
Yeah.
there to be berries.
but
and
they don't
then
have to
for
be
it
in the same bed. But yeah, I was extremely excited when I found that. I was like, oh, can I have one of those? And Evan said, sure. This is a hemlock. Hemlock is a state tree of Pennsylvania. That
Oh.
is a weeping hemlock. The birds love it because it's cover. Over here we have more of the blue star juniper, more of the ajuga, more of the variegated irises, and then we have 3 roses on either side of the bench.
Do we know what color they're going to be?
They are coral roses. I picked
Oh.
those out. In the corner here, there's a weeping white pine. I call it the snuffleupagus tree. The sides, the ears, and then you have the trunk coming out. And it just looks like a big monster from Sesame Street or snuffleupagus, so that's why I call it that. You'll see there's more spiderwort in this area. And boxwoods add shape. And then you have these, see how much larger these proboscis junipers are than the ones that were planted 2 months ago. And these were planted in the fall. So this garden was put in like October.
They're spreading, they're growing.
Yeah.
Now, is that little elephant there to symbolize the snuffleupagus tree?
No,
Knowing
but you
Mary
know what?
Ellen,
Know what? We're going to start going with that story,
there
Amy.
you go. You put that there just because of the snuffleupagus tree. I love it.
My daughter likes elephants, and one time we were in a store and we saw that. It's really heavy. I actually bought it to keep my old bird bath that wasn't well constructed down from flying off. And then as the garden has grown and matured, and
That's another thing about your garden. Just when you think you've seen all the beauty, the fine details.
yeah, so
In
I put
amongst
I
it,
put
yes.
him there because I thought he looked good there.
Yeah.
This is a tricolor birch. It has not been warm enough for it to leaf out yet. I'm really excited about it leafing out. The leaves are like a light green and a darker green with like a pink red edge. And they're really, really pretty. And I can't wait to show it to my husband.
How long ago did you get the tree?
This part was put in October.
Okay. So when do
So-
we think that it'll bloom? In the summer?
Has to get warm. So the leaves.
But will the summer be soon enough, or will it need another year to mature?
Oh no, it should in the next few weeks.
Okay.
If the temperatures go up to the 70 and 80s, it should start leafing out.
That'll be today.
3 more lilacs. Notice these lilacs are just getting their flowers because they were planted in October, and with our cool spring, they actually haven't come. Those other lilacs came straight from a nursery and were just planted, so they're all in bloom. These are just starting to bloom. And then I like that tree. I think that tree's really interesting.
That's really cool.
And then I don't know if you can get a picture of this flower over here, this statue flower. My best friend bought that for me, and it's just kind of like dancing. Hello, I am here.
Your happy flower. This is her grotto, the magnolia tree that we started with. That's really, really beautiful.
The last thing I'd like to share with you from my garden today is this area. The bird bath has been there a very long time, probably over 10 years. I said I wanted it to stay there because the birds like that bird bath, and they like standing on the fence. And they all take turns, and they like to bathe in there, and they like to get drinks. And now with the beach there, they will fly up into the beach, and they'll perch there and wait their turn. So you'll have them lined up on the railing and in the beech tree, and you can get 3 or 4 different kinds of birds sometimes in there at one time. And they like it at dusk and dawn, so when we're eating in the evening and sitting under the gazebo, the birds are often entertaining us in the bird bath.
Mary
So
Ellen,
that's my garden. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
This is stunningly beautiful, well thought out. I love the personalized aspect to you, your husband, your kids, your personality, your history. Everything is just so special back here. Everything from the reading nooks to the serenity aspect of it. It really has been a blessing for you to take us on a tour of your beautiful garden here today.
Well, thank you for letting me share it, because
Yeah.
it is a secret garden. And
It is a secret garden. It's your secret garden. And Bethel Park, you may not have the same beautiful, gigantic secret garden that Mary Ellen has, but you know what? You can find your own secret nook somewhere in your backyard or in your home this summer to maybe find your inner peace, to find your sanctuary, to find your sense of serenity. From Bethel Park TV, this is Amy Taylor, Mary Ellen France, saying thank you for joining us here today for Healthy, Fit, and Strong.